and gentlemen, I hope you are keeping safe and healthy during this COVID pandemic. Before I start, I would like to cross-check if audio and video is clear to everyone. If there is any issue, kindly let us know through the chat box of the webinar window. This is Rupal Mishra, Business Head of Commercial Design Magazine, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of ITV Media Group and Wipro Lighting. I would like to extend a very warm and hearty welcome to each one of you here. Thank you to all taking time to attend this webinar and marking this spectacular evening with your glorious presence. We truly hope the webinar series imparts as much as knowledge we seek to share with the industry on various topics. Before we start off the webinar, I would like to give a small brief about ITV Media Group. It's a Dubai-based company and it's one of the largest foreign publication group in India with more than 100 weekly and monthly magazines, which includes titles like Commercial Interior Design, Harper Bazaar, Masala, Vogue, Time Out, Architectural Digest, and list is on. If we talk about India, we have 7 B2B titles, Commercial Design Magazine, which is the part of which mainly aims to loop in various stakeholders across the whole life cycle of a building, right from developers and project heads to architects and facility heads. Now, without much further ado, I would like to hand over to my colleague Rashmi Naikar to take this webinar ahead. Over to you, Rashmi.
We have with us today Mr. Ramakrishna Puranam. He is a Workplace IoT specialist. Now, through his career, which has been spanned over 2 decades, he has handled diverse roles and functions across various verticals in the industry. With his passion and knowledge about smart and connected technology, especially IoT and its user experience in workspaces, he has forged several new ecosystems and partnerships in smart building spaces across the globe for Wipro Lighting. With this, I would love to invite Mr. Ramakrishna Puranam on this particular platform to continue the session, and I would request him to take it forward from here on. Mr. Puranam.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rashmi, and thanks, Rupal, for a quick introduction. For the audience, thank you very much for taking your valuable time off. Very good evening, good afternoon, and in case somebody is joining from other side of Atlantic, a very good morning to you. Right? Hope all of you are safe and healthy. Right? The topic of the discussion for us is a great day at work. We know we are passing through very, very crazy times, very difficult situation. But let me set the context in terms of what's happening around us. If you look at the way the nature of work has changed over the last 8 weeks' time, whatever has happened in the last 2 decades has happened in the last 2 weeks, right? Everything around us is changing. This is a LinkedIn survey, a very recent survey, what they've done, and the numbers are speaking for itself pretty clearly. 84% of the respondents have indicated some impact to the regular work activity. Our normal routines are getting disrupted. Almost 45% plus, right? Nearly half of the people have said that this somewhat are likely to be a permanent shift. Okay, we're not really sure when this dust will settle down. It's likely to be a permanent shift. 52% are doing more calls, both on video and audio, right? So all of us are now interacting on webinar through Zoom. So that's another reality we have to accept moving forward. And 43% of respondents are now working from home. So working from home earlier was not a usual practice. Some companies used to give that as an option, but now in the times like this has become one of the go-to practices to keep the employees engaged and make sure that they're able to get the productivity from the employees. And what you've seen on the other box, almost more than 50%, 54% of people have shifted their events, expos, exhibitions, all the so-called on-ground physical activities to virtual world. So look at the way the technology has currently in the last 8 weeks' time changed around us. Technology will be critical as we move forward. And when we want to re-enter the workspace, we have to adapt to new health and safety standards, which are put across by the governments. And these standards will also vary from organization to organization. Different companies will have different normals setting in. But what we have to accept is that we are not going to get back to the old normal, right? We're pretty clear that there's a new normal and the next normal is here to stay. Having said that, I gave a statistic saying 43% of people are still continuing to work from home, and the old normal is not likely to happen. So obviously, the question comes saying, why do we still need an office? Do we need a place called as a workplace? Work is happening. I'm working from anywhere. I'm working from home, working from anywhere, working from flexible space. What is the meaning of having an office? Does office still hold any place from a work perspective, or workplace hold any physical place in from a work perspective? Well, the answer is yes. Let's see how it's going to happen. So most important thing out here is why do we need a workplace? Why do we need a physical place called office? Is because it impacts the employee sentiment significantly, and workplace has got a great role to play. Three things it does for the people who go to the work, who have to necessarily go back to a place called office. There are three things, which is doing, second one is seeing, third one is feeling. This is a survey which was done by a workplace research and employee experience firm called Leesman, based out of London. They have done the survey across multiple organizations, almost about 400,000 plus people, respondents across 90 countries. And they were able to bucket all these three into doing, seeing, and feeling. So doing is something which all of us know. My workplace enables me to work productively. My workplace enables us to work productively, which means that I'm having a team, I'm collaborating with the team, and the workplace supports me in terms of sharing ideas. That's the doing part. And seeing is related to image and sustainability part of it, right? This is through the survey. Leesman had come up with some of the research findings saying that a workplace has a positive impact on the corporate image of the organization. This is the company I work for. I work for Wipro, I work for Cisco, I work for Google, right? I work for Zoom. So there is an impact on the corporate image. That's something you would like to showcase. The second one is also the initiatives which are taken by these organizations, which will have a long-term impact on the environmental sustainability, right? So that forms the seeing part of it. When you look at the feeling, right? So you take a lot of pride in asking your friends, your family, relatives. You would like to get them to your workplace, show them around the campus, show them around the buildings, just to give a sense of where you work. So that's also an important part, saying that I belong over here, and there is a feeling, and there is an attachment to a particular place called as a workplace, which brings people together and binds people together when they come back to the workplace. So it does have a tremendous amount of impact on the culture part of the organization, and workplace plays a very, very critical role in defining who we are and what we do at the workplace. Moving on. The topic of the discussion, I think people will be wondering what these 5 super drivers are for giving a great day at work, right? When we do get back to the workplace, we have a few things to do, which will charge people and people get into a turbo mode, right? These are the 5 super drivers for delivering a great day at work. The first one is planned meetings, right? Obviously, we will have scheduled meetings with people in the office, with partners, ecosystem partners, vendor partners. That's something we need to do. The second important aspect is also around the unplanned meetings or ad hoc meetings, right? You move around and you're taking a break, and you move to a water cooler, pick up a cup of coffee, and then you have an idea, you call the next person, and then you start bouncing off, and probably you need to now head off to a place, sit and have a discussion. So this is something which is unplanned, but it definitely calls for a discussion to elaborate and discuss a new idea. The third one is teamwork. Likewise, for example, when people are sitting in teams, discussing, they need a place to sit together, and they need a place which is just suitable for them to be able to collaborate together, right? Obviously now in the COVID-19 times, in the pandemic situation, all of us will have to follow the social distancing or the physical distancing norms, which could be 6 feet in case of India, could be 1.5 meter in case of some of the countries in Europe, 2 meters in certain other countries, but it doesn't matter. The social distancing and physical distancing norms have to be complied with when people do get back to work. The fourth one is individual focused work. This is something we are able to do in bits and pieces, sitting at home. Okay, work from home option. You're able to discharge a lot of your individual focused work, but you're not able to really collaborate with people face to face, right? That is definitely going to impact over a period of time. The fifth super driver, when people do get back to work, is relaxing and taking a break. How many people would have mentioned about the coffee machine meetings, or meetings around the water cooler? And then if you have a large campus, when you're moving around, a majority of the discussions actually happen when you're taking a break and moving around the campus, right? So this is also super important. It's not just that you're tied down to your workstation or you're sitting in a meeting room and having a formal meeting. Informal meetings, unplanned meetings, ad hoc meetings, and then having a chat over a coffee machine also becomes a super important subject over here. So these are 5 things which are derived from the Leesman's main research, which is doing, seeing, and feeling. And from a technology standpoint, right, these are the things which people would need when employees start going back to the workplace slowly and steadily in a staggered manner. But what happens when people go back? A typical situation, let's try and elaborate when people do get back to work in a staggered manner, in a staged manner. Let me give all the instances as they come up over here for each of these 5 topics. Somebody has a planned meeting, I need a room, but there is none available. Unfortunate situation, and many of us would have faced it, right? We don't have a place to go and sit. Ad hoc meeting, obviously you need to have a quick chat, but there is somebody else who is using a room which you wanted. Again, not possible. It is a normal situation at the office. Teamwork, you would like to have a quick team discussion, but you are again not able to get a place of your choice. Again, a typical day at office, you're struggling around. Can technology solve problems such as these to be able to give people a great day at work? The answer is yes. Again, an individual focus work, I don't know where to do the focus work. A lot of noise around me. Can I get a place which has audio privacy so that I don't get disturbed? Is there a place like that in my office? I don't know. So, and when I want to have a call, there are other people who are talking in the background. There is a lot of noise coming in. So there is a disturbance. Again, a very familiar situation for us. And relaxing and taking a break. I want to socialize or take a break. Who can join in? And now this is a tricky situation in the current pandemic era. We need to be very clear that even if we do go back to work, some people in a staged manner, we have to definitely comply with the new social distancing and physical distancing norms at the workplace, while interacting with the colleagues. Correct? How can technology help address some of these issues, solve some of these issues is what we will see. The first and most important thing is to simplify choices, right? We are all flooded with tons of technology around us. Prior to COVID-19, contactless technology was seen as something which is nice to have. When people talk about it, they say, yeah, we'd like to have it, but we would not like to spend it. This is not a necessity for us. But look at the situation right now. People are scared of touching things, touching surfaces, right? And technology can be a great enabler in making sure that you don't have to touch anything when you go back to the office, right? Can employees get that kind of a safety and wellness feeling when they transition back to the workplace? How can we make them happen? The first and foremost topic out here is to be able to simplify choices, right? It is important to think about workplace readiness as people start going back to their offices in a staged and a staggered manner. It's super important for us, right? Workplace readiness is important, and the management teams, administration teams, facilities teams, CRE teams are, I know, super busy trying to get people back to work, right? Complying to the government norms. When we look at the simplified choices, let's look at an all too familiar scenario out here. We miss this now. A lot of people are not able to travel as we speak. There's a familiar scenario, airport, tons of signboards out here, T2, T3, baggage hall, arrival hall, direction signs, multiple signs. Very familiar scenario, and chaos, people around us, and majority of the airports have gone, currently they don't make announcements, no voice announcements. And by the time, if you're trying attention to the signboards on the top, chances are that you will either miss the flight or you will end up reaching your boarding gate panting, right? Very, very familiar scenario, because this is, somebody has to really do something about the airport design part of it to make sure that we are able to really deliver a fantastic, superb airport experience to passengers who transit through and travel through, right? This is an all too familiar scenario. Why is this guy here? Steve Jobs, iconic guy, needs no introduction, legendary. This is the reason why I have got him over here in the presentation is because he always believed in simplicity in design. Look at the kind of designs Apple had come up with over the last few decades. Iconic designs. And the usability, user experience of any of those devices is stupendous, right? So he is known for simplicity in design. Not only that, and if you look at the way Steve Jobs always used to dress, he was always known to dress in turtleneck black t-shirt and a blue denim. Why is it that he has formed that kind of a habit? That's because he did not want to waste too much of time every day deciding what to wear. So he has kept that particular choice absolutely minimal. So simplifying choices is minimal because he said that I might as well spend the time selecting his apparel and what to wear. He might as well spend the time on coming up with something nice, okay, which will help the humanity, which will help the people do their work, right? And have entertainment. So coming up with innovation and doing new things, inventing was his idea, right? So the most important underlying factor over here is the simplicity and the habits which have helped him, travel that particular path. Let's look at another scenario. For people who are enthused about Formula One race driving, this is the Formula One race driver from Netherlands, Max Verstappen, one of the youngest drivers to grace the Formula One circuit in recent times. Phenomenal driver. But if you look at this guy, Max, the Formula One race driver part of it, he has absolutely no chance of committing any errors, right? He is an outstanding example of practice, discipline, rigor. But above all, there is a very, very powerful habit in terms of what he does before he gets into the car, when he gets into the car, and he is not expected to commit any errors, right? Because the error can be really, really fatal and can lead to an accident. And not only they will lose the race, but accident can cause severe damages to the team. So he has to pay utmost attention, and everything is like, completely the set of instructions he has to follow. He has to practice. There is a discipline and rigor around it. Once again, the most important aspect over here is simplifying the choices. So there is a saying, when our automatic level of consciousness is engaged, our conscious mind is free to perform other tasks, right? So all these tasks, like what the example I gave about Steve Jobs, the example I gave about this Formula One driver, Max Verstappen, these guys epitomize something called as habits and routines, right? And all of us also have our own habits and quirks and routines, both in the workplace and outside of it. But let's look at what happens when we go back to the workplace. Right, in the transition to the workplace, while the pandemic is on, I mentioned that people are going to get the employees back in a very staggered manner. Simplifying choices also becomes a very, very important aspect when people want to return to the office in a safe and healthy manner, right? So when Lisa, an employee of an organization, when she wants to go back to work, does she know? Does she have a place to work? Does she know which building she can go out and work out of? Which floor she can go and work out of? Which day she is allowed to go and work, right? Because now the people will start setting priorities, saying that there is a certain section of people who can continue to work from home, but there is a certain section of people who have to definitely come to the workplace or an office, right? To be able to interact with their teams, collaborate, and also come up with new ideas and do innovation. So this is going to become very, very important for them, and reassuring people that when they do get back to work, all the measures are taken to make sure that they have a safe and healthy place to work out of. So it's imperative for facilities managers, CRE professionals, corporate professionals to keep the workplace ready, and a constant communication on a dynamic basis to the employees, saying and reassuring, saying that the place is ready, and these are the days they can attend the office. This is the floor they can work out of. And these are the teams they can work out of. We'll just reassure them and give them a lot of peace, saying that they can transition to the office. And when they do come to the office, right, people would like to collaborate. Obviously, meeting rooms are going to become important. They can be closed meeting rooms. They can be other collaborative rooms. But providing a meeting room of a particular choice, both in terms of the location, right, and also capacity and the time, all the three have to match, right? I'm a 3-people team or a 4-people team. Do I get the right size meeting room at the time I want that particular meeting, and on the floor I want to have? Because now with the reduced capacity, it's not going to be, it's never going to be 100% for sure. It will be 33%, 50%, or we'll have to look at a new normal. So how do we make that happen? So can this be available? And the most important thing out here is that when you move majority of these, the work processes and workflows to an employee app, right, or a web app, there is no contact, right? There is no physical contact like a switch, right? People don't have to do that. Or for example, a meeting room tablet, you don't have to touch that. And hence, you are minimizing the chances of somebody having a virus, touching something, virus staying on over there, and somebody else touching it, and then the virus spreading, right? As soon as you are able to do the appification part of it, or a web application part of it, and simplify choices for people to know where their choice workplace is available, you are also building in, I would say, a pandemic-proof workplace at your disposal. So that's the most important thing from simplifying choices perspective. Let's move on to the next slide. So here, what we are talking about is in simplifying choices, technology can be a great enabler. There are multiple new technologies which have come into the forefront right now as we speak. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, right? Intelligent sensors, detectors, and various other devices. They can give you your favorites as and when you want. The right size meeting room, right size workplace, where can I go and work out of? So these are the technology advancements or tools which can help you transition back to a safe and healthy workplace. Moving on. Promoting autonomy in activity-based working, right? There are two important things out here, autonomy and activity-based working, right? So if you look at the recent reports, affirming that organizations which have embraced or which have already had some type of agile working, some type of flexible working, an activity-based workplace practice, they are far more ready and better equipped to get their employees back to work compared to people who had designated seating, who had fixed seating formula. Now we are pretty clear that if the social distancing measures are to be adopted in the workplace, we need to have workstations spaced 6 feet apart or maybe 2 meters apart, which means the overall capacity is going to come down significantly, right? Given that situation, an agile workplace or a flexible workplace, which already had this kind of practices, is better equipped to get people back to work compared to a fixed workplace, right? But when ABW happens, activity-based work happens, when people do come back to work, let's see how we can help them transition back. This is one way. You get to see a three-dimensional map of the workplace, of the building, and very clearly, you also get to see a nice red line going from left-hand side to the right-hand corner. The red line is primarily for enabling the employee to navigate, to be able to make sure that we are able to show the places around the building without him or her having to search for the place, right? One, it's a wastage of time, searching for a place. And more than the wastage of time right now, in the current pandemic situation, you also don't want people to be floating around. If they have a place to work, they need to very quickly get to that place without asking anybody for any directions. So providing an indoor map and making sure that indoor location services are available, such as the wayfinding part of it, is once again going to be a key factor in ensuring a safe return for the employees to get back to the office, right? This is one of the examples we could look at. The other example is once I do get back to my place, obviously, can I control my lights? Can I control temperature? I mentioned the example of saying that, no, can I control my audio visuals? Answer to all of this is yes. There are multiple possibilities around. We can dim the lights. We can increase the light, decrease the brightness. We can also control the temperature. We can control the blinds. So obviously, once again, what the facilities managers, the CRE professionals, or the business guys are doing out here is that in this scenario, we are moving away from a lot of touch points like switches, like panels, like room booking things, room booking panels, which are there in the office, to an app, right? Which means you have your own smartphone. All you need is a smartphone and an app, and you're able to control your own ambience and your own environment, and sticking to the social distancing and the norms which are stipulated by your own organization and the governments, local governments. So this is how you can definitely facilitate people getting back to work. Once again, the most important thing is earlier people used to say contactless technology is nice to have. It is not nice to have anymore. It is a must have, right? If you want to have people coming back to a safe and healthy place, this is something you should build in your rejigging of your work plans. So giving a feeling, enhanced feeling of autonomy with do-it-yourself option is going to be the key, right? The key out here is most importantly, everybody is talking about touchless, contactless, transition into workspace. How can we make it happen? I've given a few examples, and we will continue with a few more in the subsequent slides. So as long as you're able to transfer the control part of it and guide the employee back to his choice workplace where he or she can work out of, all this we are now moving to a do-it-yourself kind of an option. Only the policy management is going to be done by the administration, facilities, and CRE professionals. But otherwise, the control part of it and navigating through the workplace in a safe and healthy manner is now with the employee. Moving on. Yeah, it's a controversial topic. Yeah, so this is encouraging face-to-face interaction. It's going to be once again a big factor when you want to do collaborative work. All of us are now engrossed doing video calls, different kinds of collaboration, using Zoom, using Microsoft Teams, using Cisco WebEx. We are all living in a virtual world. But let me narrate an example of an interaction with an architect recently. He is currently going through the same situation as we are, and he had only one point to say, saying that, Ram, look, the most important thing for people like us, the architects and designers, is to be able to touch and feel. We have to feel the fabric, we have to feel the texture, I have to see the color in the real world, right? And no amount of you convincing and doing a video call and telling me this product is going to look like this product is going to behave like this is not convincing for me. So for a certain set of people, especially in creative fields and in design field, and also a lot of decision makers, face-to-face interaction is irreplaceable. You can't have a virtual call to decide on certain things. So will virtual replace the physical world? The answer is no. The office is here to stay. People are going to come back, and it's going to be a next normal, right? So face-to-face interaction is going to be super important for certain disciplines. At least for now, creative design, decision-making disciplines are definitely going to embrace the face-to-face interaction a lot more than ever before. Nice familiar scenario, large office, and you get to see a lot of lounge seating over here, collaborative spaces, and people are following social distancing norms out here, right? And this is something which fosters collaboration. This is where people can think about new ideas, talk about them, discuss, and come up with a lot of new innovations which are useful for the human beings, okay, for the mankind. Very familiar setting in large organizations. So this is something which the space designers, planners, workplace planners, architects, designers, behavioral specialists have to enable so that people are able to still have a face-to-face interaction, face-to-face communication when they transition back to the workplace, adhering to the social distancing norms because of the pandemic. One example of how this can happen, collaboration can happen. Obviously, my colleague Simon Jaspers is somewhere in the building, and he has checked into the building, which means he had made his location available to his colleague, Sarah Phillips. On the way, he also wants to meet with 3 other colleagues, Jordan, Stephanie, and another person out here, Alex Bryant, right? And all he has to do is, once his location is made available, the other 3 people also know, other 4 people also know where he is. And all they now need is a meeting room for 5 people or 6 people to go and work out, right? So you're not wasting any time searching for a place, and you're also not wasting any time calling people and checking whether they're available, if so, where they are. So in a large campus, multi-floor building kind of in a normal situation pre-COVID, but post-COVID, it's absolutely essential for us to be able to share the location, right? And adhering to the social distancing norms and also data privacy norms. And once you know where your colleague is available, you can grab a place and work out of, right? Again, complying with the norms set up by the organizations and the governments. So there's another example which can foster a face-to-face interaction and obviously complying with the norms. What are we looking at over here in the scenario? is that the organizations or companies should create a feeling of shared ownership of the office. Right now, we are talking about a smart app which people can use, employees can use when they check in. They're getting communication from their organization time to time when they can return to the office. If they do, where can they go and work out of? Are their colleagues going to be available from a collaboration perspective, team meetings perspective? So this is something they need to create a feeling of shared ownership, so that the control is not necessarily with the facilities manager or the building owner, and there is an enhanced feeling of a shared ownership when you really transition back into a digital workplace. Moving further, this is very, very specific to all our facilities managers, friends, and corporate real estate professionals. For them, getting sufficient data, right data and real-time insights is going to be very, very essential, right? More than ever before. I'll tell you why. Real-time data is about what's happening in the building or the workplace. Okay, it has become much more important because you really need to know, once you have announced that 33% of the people can be there in the office, in the building, you don't want to exceed that particular capacity, right? Or it can be 50% for another organization. So that's something you need to comply with. On a real-time basis, you need to know if your original size was 1,000-seater, now it's resized to 500, and you don't want to exceed that. So you need to have a real-time insight into that. And also to be able to know where people are, so that people are not congregating at one particular place and the social distancing norms are getting broken. So that's something FMs and real estate people, workspace designers have to be really, really concerned about going forward. So having a real-time data has become super important than ever before. And these data should be used to provide actionable insights to facilities professionals and CRE professionals. Let's look at how. This one example. In the previous example, what I spoke about in simplifying choices, I have shown a workplace app, okay, on the smartphone, which the employee can know in terms of when he can go to the office, if he goes to the office, which building he can work out of, which floor he can go and work out of, within that particular floor, which area can he occupy. But the policy management part of it and priority part of it has already been set by the facilities leaders along with the business leaders. Okay, so there is a certain section of people like anchors who always have to go to an office. They need a fixed seat, right? So they have a priority check-in. There is a certain set of people who can continue to work from home, maybe 3 days a week or 2 days a week. So they get a different admin setting at a priority. And there is a set of people who are mobile workers, okay, who can work from anywhere, and they just have to go to the office maybe on a Monday or a Friday to interact with the teams. So these settings are done by the admin facilities managers in a very simplistic manner. And once the dashboard is ready, for each employee, it comes up in their own way. Once they do their single sign-on check-in, it comes up in their own way saying that, can I go to the office on a Monday? Can I go to office on Tuesday? No, you can't go on a Monday and Tuesday. You can only go on a Wednesday. And it shows that, when I go to office on a Wednesday, this is cover B, floor number 4, and I can go and, work out of zone A, where my team is going to be available. But the prioritization settings in terms of streamlining the workflow, who can be there, who cannot be there, is all going to be done by the facilities management professional when we really look at going back to office sooner than later. These are some of the occupancy technologies one could look at, multiple technologies. I'm not going to elaborate in depth in terms of what these technologies are about. Some of them are familiar, some of them are coming up new. But very briefly, if you really want to know a desk level occupancy, whether people are adhering to norms, right, in terms of social distancing, after physically demarcating the spaces, you need desk sensors to get 100% visibility on the occupancy level. The second one is in the meeting rooms. Very clearly, meeting rooms are going to be resized and right-sized. If it's a 12-seater meeting room before, maybe in the COVID times, it may get redesignated as a 6-seater meeting room or 8-seater meeting room. And you got to make sure that the capacity in the meeting room doesn't go beyond 6 people or 8 people. So you need to have a precise count of people who are sitting in those meeting rooms to be able to make sure that the norms are adhered to. The third situation is something which I have mentioned in ensuring a nice navigation at the workplace. So when people are wandering around the workplace or loitering around the workplace, that is the last thing you want, because you would want them to go to their place of choice, meeting room, without asking for any directions, right, to indoor navigation. So you also get to see these nice heat maps. So there are certain areas which are in green, there are certain areas which are in red, certain areas which are in orange, pretty similar to how the densification happens at the workplace. Now the new word is de-densification, right? We're not going to have the same capacity back at the work anytime. And de-densification is super important. So you get to see the middle area, the central island in that particular building is all green, which means the occupancy levels are currently in line with the norms which have been set. There is a red zone which is coming up on the right-hand side, which means obviously it's a cause for concern. There are too many people congregating over there. They need to be sensitized, and there has to be an alert which has to go to them. Or if facilities manager is aware that this is an area which is attractive, this could be a cafeteria or a pantry where people are congregating, maybe he can take an action to make those kind of coffee stations available along the floor at multiple locations to avoid people congregating and getting together at one location. And other areas are on it, which means the density is building up slowly and steadily. So this is something which the facilities managers can get on a real-time basis and also on a historical basis in terms of trends in usage in a graphical way, in a 3D view. But when they really want to get into the analytics in terms of how people are using spaces, they can now get equipped with a lot of data in terms of how the work area is getting used, how the meeting rooms are getting used, how collaboration space are getting used, and how everything in the office is getting used. So they can make fact-based decisions, because if you don't have sensors measuring data, if you don't have beacons giving you the directions, people, how busy is the workplace, we don't know. But now more than before, business is not an important thing. Adhering to new social distancing norms and ensuring that you are able to get the employees back and give them a seamless experience, a safe and healthy experience as a transition to workplace is going to be a super important feature. What technology is needed? Yeah, and most important thing is why are we talking about all of this? And is it applicable for me? Is it good for my retrofit buildings? Because new buildings are not going to happen anytime soon. If that is the case, then can I use the technology in my existing buildings? Let's look at a standard approach which is taken by majority of organizations. Yeah, so you have independent systems, independent apps, a lot of one-time integrations which are done for that particular floor, particular building. There is no central data acquisition. Data is the new engine. There's no central data acquisition. It's all in different silos, and they don't speak to each other. And a lot of times we also end up with dedicated single-purpose hardware, right? I can only use it for this particular application, and we can't use it for anything else. And the underlying factor for all of this is the data governance. It becomes another unsettling factor when the IT teams or the info security teams have to look at that and say that is this data safe? Okay, and to make sure that the data privacy norms are adhered to. So this is the old school system design, everything in a silo manner, not talking to each other, and one-time integrations. But how we can bring all of this together is if you have a platform approach where you are able to collate and get data from multiple sources like Wi-Fi, like security systems, like smart lockers. We talked about open office area, desking, meeting rooms, booking system, Bluetooth low energy, multiple devices, both IT and OT operational technology wise, and everything coming into a particular cloud scenario, and there is a front-end employee app, and you are able to provide a seamless experience across any kind of a device, be it a smartphone, be it a tablet, or be it a laptop, right? And obviously, if somebody is still using a desktop, you get exactly the same experience. The whole idea is to be able to get all of them, all different data sources, stitch them together to be able to give a seamless experience to the employee when he or she returns to the office and simplify their choices. So what technology do we need? There are multiple technologies. And when you talk IoT, it means different things for different people, Internet of Things, Internet of Everything. But any platform one chooses has to be able to connect at least some of these dots. You can't operate in a silo world anymore, saying that I will do a standalone lighting, I will do a standalone temperature control, no. As long as you're able to exchange data with each other, there are a lot of new outcomes which facilities managers and CRE professionals can get for their businesses. So some of the things we could look at from a sensing perspective is the connected building management systems, smart lighting, I talked about in terms of giving a great experience at the office, Wi-Fi systems, Bluetooth low energy based beacons, and dedicated sensors, right? So these are going to be an integral part of our workplace going forward, if not already. And indoor localization and indoor location services is going to be a very big thing because for the reasons I mentioned before, you don't want people when they come back to the office to be floating around and loitering around in the office, searching for people and searching for places. And if you're able to give them good direction, good indoor maps, because believe me, Google Maps doesn't work inside a building. You need to have an equivalent of that once you get into the office. You need to have your own office map to be able to navigate the space smartly and safely. So indoor location services, wayfinding is going to be another important aspect to transition and get people back to work. Slightly busy slide, a lot of text written here. It's for users to see. These strategies behind the world's best workplaces differ in terms of what kind of work they're doing, what kind of process they're following, the geographical location, country, continent, multiple things. But if you look at them very closely, there are similarities in what these organizations are doing, right? And how they approach the balancing act of work, not only as a thing you do, but also the most important factor is a place where you actually want to be, right? So this is the most important factor. And technology is going to be a very, very key enabler in getting people back to work, getting that mojo or Josh back at the workspace. You want to have people back in the buildings and working as before, right? Pre-pandemic situation. So quick pointers in how we can make this happen is that the workplace designers, facilities managers, architects, everybody will have to reimagine the layouts through the occupancy data and space utilization software. There are multiple things which are available on the market right now. And prioritize a data-driven building operations with real-time monitoring. Real-time is going to be the key now. It's no longer historical analytics, which I'm happy with, seeing this is how people are using. But real-time insight in terms of how people are using is going to be super important, right? And so that you're able to also create workflows and work order management around it. And critical to this is critical to move to a contactless or a touchless world is to be able to move to an employee-facing app, which will build trust and confidence in the workplace for employee to return, right? They're also super anxious as to when they can go back to work and start meeting their colleagues. So this is an experience which the organization can give and equip them when they get back to the work. And from a FM CRE perspective, obviously they need to continue to optimize and adjust the operations with the holistic data, which is going to be coming out of the building. So buildings have never been looked at as data generators and for data analysis, but now all of us really have to look at real-time data much more than before. Unleash your office, get people back to their safe havens, right? And allow them to work as they were before, giving them a choice to work, enable them to have autonomous working, activity-based working, flexible work options. Unleash your office, right? As a friend of mine from the industry very recently had remarked, the spaces are limited, but the experience you can deliver in these workspaces is infinite, right? It's unlimited. With that, I would like to end my presentation. And I would also like to thank our partner from Netherlands, a Dutch scale-up company, Mapic, which believes in giving a fantastic office experience as people start transitioning back to the workplace. Thank you very much, Rashmi.
Thank you so much, Ramki. That was one of the most in-depth presentation and session into what IoT can do for us for the workspace, why it's important, how necessary it is for this day and age. That was almost like you've covered every point and plan into how we can take it forward. In fact, we had some really great comments in the chat session where people were expressing how important it is to go forward from here on, specifically even now after COVID-19. Now, just we realize that a lot of the audience members have shared their email IDs and contact details with us. To get in touch with them, we would definitely do that like one by one immediately after this particular session. We also had a lot of queries in the chat session. Again, I'm requesting anyone who has any queries on the topic or for the speaker, requesting you to please put it onto the Q&A session. And that said, we will definitely get back to each and every one of y'all who have requested for the PPT. I will still need to check in with Ramakrishna and see if he can share the PPT with us. Irrespective of that, we would be sharing the recording of this particular session with everyone. Now, we'll be taking the Q&A very shortly, but before the Q&A, we would have this short poll, a survey that we had prepared for all our audience members. So it would be really great if you all could please take few minutes and participate in it. Aisha, if you can put on the questions that is appearing on your screen. This is just for our understanding about how our audience members use spaces. What are your opinion and feedback on how your workings and operations work out? So if you all can please take your time and answer these, this would be really great. Again, everyone sharing your contact details with us. We will definitely be contacting you all. Please do leave your number and email address with us. Our team will definitely get back to you immediately after this particular session. Aisha, can we have the next question? Okay, the questions are increasing onto this. Ramki, I hope this gives you enough time to just go through them and probably collate your thoughts onto the questions that are being asked here.
Yeah.
We can move on to the next question, Aisha.
I'll just grab a small glass of water.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ramki, a lot of people have been asking about the PPT. What do you think? Would you be able to this?
We will share. We will share it.
All right. Okay. So, so everyone asking for this in the chat session, we will definitely try to get back to you on this. If not the PPT, we will definitely have the recording for you.
We will share it. Yeah.
Okay. The next one. Okay, what we can do is, Ramki, if you're ready, we can still have the survey on. In the meantime, if you want to take questions, because I think there's quite a lineup of questions. So
yes,
in case if you
I
want,
would like to.
so if you can start, yeah. Okay, done. So let the survey continue. Probably if you can take the questions and answer them, that would be really great. So over to you, Ramki. Yes.
Thanks, Rashmi.
No worries.
Thanks for giving a breather.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, the first question I see from my friend Bipin Aswani. Hi, Bipin. Thanks for joining. Your question is on IoT retrofit financially viable in current economic climate, and is Wipro able to adapt and customize security protocol? The answer is yes. We can work around to make sure that whatever solution we talked about, at least most aspects of solution are applicable for a retrofit scenario, for a brownfield operation, and we will make it work for you. And the financials part of it, obviously, we need to sit and understand what exactly your requirements are and what you are looking at, and we can tailor a solution which just works for you. We can assure you that we can give you something which is really tailor-made for defense operations, for sure. Right, but to answer your question, short and sweet, retrofit for IoT, definitely yes. I see the next question from Mitali. Can circadian lighting be integrated with? Obviously, yes. I did not touch upon the lighting aspect in detail for the paucity of time. It can be done, and we can do a true circadian rhythm-based lighting, human-centric lighting, using automation, right? It can be a completely seamless one to follow the circadian rhythm and the biodynamic rhythm. It can be done. This is again a part of using a lot of IoT sensors and fixtures which are color tunable, and we can deliver that solution to you. The next question I see is from Krishnan Narayanan Swami. Are you able to provide a system that integrates with BMS and includes the following? Okay, the following is get to see, okay, multiple questions. Let's see this. They're split into security, yes. Then the second one is monitoring, building systems and lighting, etc. Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. If you're talking about physical security, which is in terms of getting the video surveillance or the access control part of it, we'll have to work around. I presume that is so. But from an InfoSec perspective, InfoSecurity, IT security, the solution is GDPR compliant, which is General Data Protection Regulation, which is stipulated by the European Parliament in May 2018. That's the thing which has been followed by the entire industry across the board. So we can, Krishna Narayan Swami, we can definitely give you a solution which is integratable with other subsystems in the building, as you've spoken about, right? 2-3 things which are mentioned here. Rafi is asking a question. Hi, Rafi. Is it on-premise or on-cloud? This is completely on-cloud, right? If you have to deploy it at multiple locations on a scale, on-premise is no longer tenable, right? And client will have to really manage it and operate it, having their own personnel, having data centers, etc. We believe, I think the world will adopt the cloud with greater acceleration in these times, right? In the pandemic situation, we have seen how people have embraced collaboration tools like Zoom, WebEx more than ever before. I think cloud is here to stay. There are a lot of fears which were around cloud. They will soon start going away with a lot of regulations and data privacy acts getting into place. But to answer your question, the solution is 100% a cloud-based solution. BMS integration along with color rendering based on the time of the day, Vinayak Sane, yes, sir, it can be done. It is absolutely, yeah, it's possible. We can have an astronomical time clock, which can be set in from a sensor perspective. And if you're looking at triggering other operations related to the building part of it, building services part of it, I know it's a little complex. It's not a straightforward one. But is it doable? The answer is yes. Is it straightforward? The answer is no. We definitely need to work on a specific architecture to make sure that we're able to, get this thing moving. Krishna Narayana Swami, in the case of retrofit buildings, is a backbone required like a Cat6 cable or integration with BMS? Yeah, so I would say both yes and no. There are situations where you would like to use power or Ethernet, but it's not the usual case in most retrofit buildings. You would look at a lot more wireless systems, be it Wi-Fi or be it Bluetooth low energy, be it Zigbee, multiple protocols. Protocols don't matter. As long as you're able to stitch things together from a workplace perspective, the whole thing I talked about towards the end is to be able to give a great experience to the guy who is coming all the way to the office, right? Because the technology is really the backbone. If one looks at it, all we are looking at is giving an experience at the office. Udit Khanna, are there any mapping deployments in India for retrofit of building? The answer is yes. More are happening. Vistab sir, good evening, sir. Thanks for joining. And it's a pleasure to have you here on the discussion today. And Vistab sir, you have asked a question. The system should indicate the need for a full return to a given space of work. What if office choose to move to a model where 50% FH and W work from office? How does technology help there? Sir, I think I did not elaborate in the transition back to the office. I was talking about staggered return to the offices, which could be to begin with 20%, 25%, 30%, and then going all the way to 50%. So 50% of people will still work from home. So when you repurpose the workplace, sticking to the new social distancing norms, the solution is still very much applicable and scalable, and making sure that you are able to mark out areas which are usable, which are safe for people to work out of, which are safe for people to have meetings. And there are areas which are not usable, or you may say that you may take some different organizations will have different norms, saying that some workstations are usable only on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The other workstations are usable only on, say, Tuesday and Thursday. And some floors are open on some days, some floors are not open on some days in a multi-floor situation. So we can work around, and as long as, I mean, it can be any capacity from 10 to 100, 0 to 100. So it's a possibility. Viren Merchant, considering the current economic situation, likely slowdown in fiscal year ahead, how should such new technology additions be positioned as client facilities from mid-sized to larger facilities? Yeah, I think in the presentation I mentioned that this is not a nice to have kind of a situation anymore, Viren, right? The whole tonality of the language has to change. This is a must-have. If you want to have a safe return of employees to the workplace and give them a contactless as much as you require. I mean, there'll always be a factor about the cost, but obviously, I mean, you need to bring both the cost and experience together. That's the important thing out here. Yeah, so be it whatever economic situation, if you really want people back at the office, you need to be able to give them the confidence and assurance that here is a safe place for them to go and work out of, right? So the organizations will have to spend that kind of a money in case they want people back at work. Uttam Gupta, how can you implement in government offices? Sir, it doesn't matter, Uttam ji. It can be implemented anywhere as long as it's a building. It doesn't matter at all. We will comply with the norms which are stipulated by the governments, and we can implement it. The solution is applicable for both private and public sector as much as for anybody else, right? As long as it's a building and an office, it can be implemented. I see Bharat Tagra, how convenient it is for you to integrate install system, how data integration is going to be solution at your end. Because, yeah, so it's again not straightforward. We need to see what systems can be leveraged from what is available already. Some of them are usable, some of them are not usable because they're no longer scalable into the new environment onto Internet of Things. So something which is not usable, we have to discard it and move ahead. We still need to have offices and we still need to have people in those offices, right? Bharat? So Charu, what is the average cost of deployment of the system? It is including the cost of lighting. Difficult question to answer unless we have more data around the workplace, type of work, demographics of workplace, what norms have to be followed. Is a very generic question. I don't think I can answer this question in a straightforward manner. We need to look at a little more data to be able to give an estimate, Charu. Can we have an exact count of people in space? Manoj, the answer is yes. You will get 100% accurate count. If it is 6, it is 6. It is 8, it is 8. It is 12, it is 12. Right? You will get exact count. So there are people/occupancy count sensors which will give you that kind of an accuracy, 100% accuracy. Sharik Ahmad, what if use of smartphone is restricted in the building and area like secure facilities? Sharik bhai, I think this is a pertinent question. I would say if we have to get back people to the offices, right, people to the buildings to, say, again, continue to work, the most important factor is to be able to give them a nice, safe, healthy workplace to work. And I would say there are still questions around data privacy and security part of it, but in the current pandemic situation, those have taken a backseat, right? So they will get resolved over a period of time as people start embracing the new normal. Use of Li-Fi can help in workplace. Yeah, the answer is yes. How can you implement in government offices? I'm getting some repeat questions. Ajit Warrior, is it possible? Ajit, I'm seeing your question. Is it possible only greenfield project? Current office can be converted. Ajit, it can be done in both greenfield and brownfield. Wing Commander is asking a question. Can we do a proof of concept in real time? Absolutely, yes, Wing Commander. In real time. Okay. Can we have a system installed with WAN or LAN? Tapan Shah, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question properly. Yeah, so if the answer is, can it work only on my network, intranet? The answer is yes. But once you go on cloud, obviously you would put your own security management in place for authentication and authorization part of it, and the access part of it. So it can work outside the premises as well, from a LAN and WAN situation, if I understood your question correctly. Rashmi, I think
All right.
Srini, hi Srini, thanks for joining. Do you think it's viable to have HVAC mentioned by an LMS? Srini, I didn't understand your question, but if you're talking about HVAC integration along with lighting management system, is there a possibility? The answer is yes. And is it meaningful to be able to get some data out of the sensors which are connected to the lighting management system and then trigger HVAC or a BMS action? The answer is yes, it is possible from a overall BMS integration perspective.
Okay, so
I
do you want
yeah.
take any more questions, Ramki? All right, so I think we've covered quite some entire gist of it. And
and in case I have not covered any of the questions in the Q&A box, we will definitely get back to you. Rashmi, I would request you to compile all the questions for the benefit of everybody, so that we can share it with everyone along with the video.
That sounds great, actually. So this is going to be our POA going forward. First, we're going to get back to each and every one of you who have left all your contact details, email IDs, and firm details with us. For more information, we will surely share those with you. Everyone who has asked for the PPT and webinar, we will definitely give us in days time. We have the recording with us. We'll just have to minutely edit it and then send it across to us. Thirdly, all the questions that were asked in the FAQ, and even the ones, unfortunately, we are still getting questions actually. The ones we haven't been able to answer, we will take them up. We'll compile and complete FAQ on this particular session and the webinar, and we will mail it across to all of our audience members who have so beautifully been with us and given us your time. In any given point of time, if you all want to get in touch with Ramki, of course, he's there. He will definitely take your questions and his doubts that you all have. All right, now before we go, we also have the poll questions and share the poll results with you too. Now, the webinar that we started off today with the help of Wipro Lighting here is actually planned out as a series of webinar. So we are taking up different topics, different sessions, different issues, challenges going forward about future of workspaces, about the impact that's going to have on work processes and all of these things. The second actual webinar on this particular series is being scheduled next week on 28th. It's around the same time at 4 o'clock. That particular webinar is going to be a panel discussion. We have speakers from Tata, we have a speaker from Microsoft, we have a speaker from CBRE, all of these guys already on board, and they're going to share some really great insights as to how these institutional companies are taking the future of work forward. Ramki, if you want to add something on to about the next webinar, you can.
Yeah, please don't miss what I've spoken about. Is just a trailer on how the future of work is evolving. The panel members are eminent people from their respective fields. They have in-depth knowledge, not just about the workspace part of it, but in terms of how workflows are changing, how work styles are changing. And we have a quad generational workforce as we speak right now with the baby boomers, the Gen X, Gen Y, okay, the millennials, and also the digital natives, all at the workplace. So how will we grapple with this idea of work, right? And the workplace and the workforce, right? That is a session which we are going to come up with next week, Thursday, same time. 1600 hours being curated by Rashmi and the commercial design team, and look forward to all of you joining and more people joining that session to be able to get a lot of insights on the evolution of work and the future of work.
Right. We still have people sending in their contact. We might be ending the session anytime soon. I'm really sorry. If you all have any questions, or if y'all want, y'all can just send it to me. I'll forward it to the team. My email ID is rashmi.naicker@itp.com, rashmi.naicker@itp.com. Y'all can send it to me. We'll surely share it with Ramki and his team, and he will definitely get back to you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much
you,
once
Ramki.
again. Yeah, great evening, and stay safe and stay healthy.